What's up, everybody? Hello. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Allen Halas. I'm a music writer.
I'm Jim Love. I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And when we don't have guests on our show every other week, we like to talk to you, our viewers, listeners, people out there.
We just chop it up a bit.
About things that, everybody that's got a side hustle, everybody that's an entrepreneur kind of goes through in time. Today, we are talking about, not us, I guess. We're talking about having
other people in our lives. Yes.
We're talking about having mentors and what that experience was like, or maybe not like.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. for us. So Jim, did you have mentors, in your side hustle of being a motivational speaker? And
Totally.
What was that like for you?
Yeah. So I've had a couple, but I had one specifically who was kind of my person that led me into really doing this. So when I was 16, and I saw my first speaker, his name was Arik Jackson, great guy. And I remember wanting to do what he was doing. It's like, This guy's awesome. He's having a blast. He's being himself on stage. And I was like, I could see myself doing this. And it took almost 10 or 12 years later to actually start thinking about what that meant. So Arik gave me a call one day in 2015 after I told a mutual friend that I may want to speak someday. And he was like, let's have you do this. He's like, I think you could do it. Let's walk you through what this looks like. So I would write down notes. I would practice them in front of a brick wall. Right. Okay. And this is my early days of speaking, and I would record myself and I would send it to Arik, and he would listen to it every week. We did this literally every week for probably 6 months.
Wow.
And would call me, be like, here's what you need to focus on more. Dive deeper in this part, dive deeper in that part, and really mentored me on what it means to speak to motivate. What that means to actually take your words and your stories and make them meaningful to an audience. And it was hard. It was really hard. And he really challenged me and helped me to form sort of this message that became my key and core thing that's now evolved into different ways. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had really, I don't think, my message. And more specifically, the reason why I got my first actual gig to speak, which was in 2015, was because Arik double booked himself on accident. And he was like, I can't make this, but I have someone in mind who can do it.
You're a backup.
You're my backup, which I'm fine with. And it was actually the Wisconsin Leadership Seminars, which is where you were just filming me this summer, but this was in 2015, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can do this. I showed up. Lost my mind one day, let's just see how this goes. And I did an hour and it was great. And I had a good time. I don't even remember what I said, to be honest, but I remember the feeling I had connecting with people. And Arik was like, this is going to be your moment. This is when you can make it happen. So it was a really significant thing for me. I've had other mentors along the way who have given me advice, those types of things. But that 6-month process that's now, just obviously turned into a friendship was critical. And to really know what it takes to speak to people in a sense of motivating versus just here's my talk.
Right.
And really put energy and emotion into it was awesome. And I learned so much from it. I still do. I mean, I'm not perfect at what I do, and I learn something from it all the time. And Arik and I share texts a lot and do all this stuff. Shout out, I'm going to tag him in this. So shout out to Arik for all the work you've done to help me get to where I'm at. And that was, nearly 10 years ago now. But that was certainly a critical juncture for me. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be, I don't think I'd be speaking. So
for sure.
Really, really
so you
important.
worked on a one-to-one basis of went back and forth shared notes and things like that.
Exactly.
With a mentor, right?
Yeah. What was your situation or lack thereof?
So I didn't really necessarily have I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a mentor. And I didn't realize it because we weren't doing that. We weren't doing the one-to-one, sharing notes, sharing thoughts, is this good? Am I good at this? Whatever kind of thing. I never really had that. What I did have, however, was my first, my summer job when I was in college.
Yeah.
I was at a fireworks stand. And so I'll shout out to
Dangerous.
Ken Mischel, my first manager ever. Not the first year, but then as time went on, I came back year over year because it was money. And I would work at this fireworks stand. And eventually it got to the point where we would start, I would start coming in the winter because I was available. And I'd come in, get some extra hours, whatever.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, there's not a lot of business at a fireworks store in the fall.
Right.
So we would hang out and we would, just watch movies, talk about whatever. Always were thinking about different ways that we could make money. Of various degrees of dangerousness,
riskiness,
legality, feasibility, all sorts of things.
Yes.
We would scheme a lot. We would plan
like
on
that.
some stuff. We would say, "Oh, this would be great if we did this," or "What if we did this," or whatever. He did introduce me to like the Gary Vaynerchuk videos, Gary V.
Yep.
Which we both kind of binged on for a long time, and then eventually kind of got lost in the sauce on. But that's what happens is like, we were the ones that were always thinking like, oh, how could we make money off this? Or how could we just do this?
I love it. Yeah.
And it was always kind of like, it wasn't mentorship in the sense of like, I'm going to do this thing and you're going to do this. Like, it was kind of like, just talking about, ideas and being able to bounce those off of somebody.
Sharing. Yeah.
And vice versa. He was able to share a lot of stuff off of me. Like, what if we did this? And then we would both kind of pick it apart. We would both be kind of like, well, how does that make money? You know what I mean? Or how does that work? Or how, what could we really do? So it wasn't technically, I guess, mentorship in the sense of that. But then like his wife had a business. So I got to kind of see how that operated, the day-to-day of that. I got to see what he was doing as a manager, how he handled people, how he handled communication with people. There's definitely still ways that I communicate, like little tips that I learned just from observing him.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like that actually carried over into the way I conduct myself now with a business. Learned how he managed employees, like all of the like the little things that add up. I learned from being in my first job and working retail. Yeah. And I mean, of course, learned other stuff along the way. Yeah. But that was a big, like,
it's critical. Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I mean, you think about the jobs you've had previous. Like my first job, I worked at a rectory in my parish, and like I learned a lot from the priests, like how they manage like a parish and our secretaries. And then I've worked at a warehouse in college. I learned a lot from like the guys who were driving forklifts of like just so they're at like, it was just you always take something away from everything. Yeah. And so while it may not be like the like stereotype sense of mentor, like maybe how mine was, there's still like a mentorship probably from both sides there. And I can imagine I probably taught Ark a few things too, down the road of like question some parts or, and now like what's really cool. And I should mention, I do have mentors like in my regular role too. Like I have an amazing manager. Like I have so many good people who are like there really to help me out. And, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without them. And they know exactly who they are and they do listen to this. So awesome folks. But, I also now am able to give back in a way where people reach out to me in the same sense about speaking. They're like, I would love to hear more about what you do. And I'm like, I love talking about this. And like, how can I help you? How can I connect you with the next thing? And then I like get their ideas of what they've been doing. I'm like, that's a great idea. Or I tried that didn't work, but like maybe like, here's a different way you can approach it. And I really like that idea, sharing that info. That's how we all grow. You know, and it's really, it's cool. But I love that. Cause like, you're like, well, that idea is interesting. Like, here's how I would change it. And like, there's the autonomy and like the empowerment to do that, which is cool.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like learning the basics on the job, sort of on a different job.
Yeah, right.
Also, very quick shout out to the Franksfield Craft Beer Garden, which he now runs.
Awesome.
And him and his wife now run, and
that's cool.
So go there. And the Das Brat food truck that is there.
Das Brat's just such a good phrase.
It started as a running joke.
I love it.
And also, we had very different first jobs. We had different clientele.
Very much so. I can imagine. That's
but
sweet.
we want to know, if you got mentors,
they're
shout them out.
Right.
And you know what? Hey, tag your mentor.
I was going to say, if you have someone who's inspired you even a little bit, put them in the comments and tag them and let them know how awesome they are. And I'm going to do it. Alan's going to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And I don't think we, like, as leaders, we're supposed to do that. Like, you're supposed to have gratitude for the people that come before you. So do it. And I'm just going to do this again. If it's your first time listening to this show, welcome. If it's your 52nd or 53rd time listening to this show, maybe even more than that, welcome. We're happy to have you here. Hustling Sideways is our podcast. We interview people either right here or in the camera, and we are everywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all the great places. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I got the spiel down now so well. And we are, if you want to be on the show, we would welcome that too. You can reach out to us on Gmail, which is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. Last time I said net. Apparently that's wrong.
That's wrong.
We're so excited that you're here. Thank you for following us along on this journey. Once again, you will be seeing videos from a different place on Marquette's campus in the 707 Hub very soon, and we're very pumped for that. You want to say anything at all?
Keep on hustling.
Oh, you stole my line.
You can say it.
Keep on. No, now it's done. Okay.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.